Hello, Replit. Welcome to the inaugural, if you will, Replit 101, where we're going to do a deep dive into how Replit works, what it is, and just what's so cool about it for all you people new to programming, new to coding, or maybe just new to Replit. Maybe you're an old hat, you're an old C developer. You've been doing this since it was on punch cards, and you finally decided to do something really cool and look at where the future's going. Well, this is all for you. We're going to take half an hour today to talk you through the basics of Replit, how it works, show you around a little bit, and give you the VIP tour of all the features we have to offer. And then the next half an hour will be our very first Homework Helpline, which is an opportunity for anyone stuck on any coding problem to get a little bit of help. Now, I do have to put a bit of a disclaimer up front about this, because although I am a teacher and I have taught for a number of years, I have not taught every programming language and every small little bit. So I will try my very best to help everyone. Sometimes I might have to scratch my bald head and look a little bit confused though. But if you want to get your question answered in Homework Helpline, you have two options. The first, of course, is to make sure that you've posted your question into the chat so I can put them in order and star the ones that we want to go through. The second is you can either give me a rep or share link, or you can pop on camera later on and share your screen. Just a reminder, though, if you are going to pop on screen, by doing that, you're accepting the conditions that we will be able to use that recording later on. So just a heads up for that. But I've done enough waffling. Let's get into Replit and let's talk about the cool thing you've come here to actually see. Replit is an amazing, amazing product. And I'm not just saying that because I work here. That is why I work here, to be perfectly honest. It is a brilliant place to work because it just pushes at the edges of what's possible. And that's why I love it. And for you users, that's where I was a great fan of the product and a power user of the product before I started working for Replit. And it's because I thought it was so great that I wanted to work for them. I'm hoping that in this half an hour, you'll see why it's so great too. But let's start with the really simple one. What is Replit? Well, let me start with this one. Who am I? Who's this very handsome bald chap? Well, I'm David Morgan. I'm the teacher and customer success dude here at Replit. And I will be here for all your Replit 101 and Homework Helpline needs. But what is Replit? Well, Replit, if you Google it, will come up with this strapline. It's the collaborative browser-based IDE. And that all sounds really good. But what does it actually mean? Well, first of all, an IDE is a development environment. It is a way that you can program, develop software, and share it with the world. The collaborative part is the really powerful thing because it lets you work with other people very, very quickly and easily. But the winner for me is browser-based. You don't have to install anything. As long as you've got a browser, you can work on Replit, and you'll have the same high-quality experience no matter where you are or which device you're on. There are plenty of people that code on their phones, which all props to you. That screen's too small for me, but people can, because Replit works the same in the same high quality way, no matter where you are on what device you're on. But what it actually is freedom from your device, from a specific software stack, from having to update your IDEs and your development environments for the rest of time. I'm sure a lot of you old hat programmers on here will remember the days of having to constantly update your IDs. And worse, if you do a smattering of programming every now and again, it does feel a bit like every time you turn on something like VS Code, you need to do a bunch of updates. I know certainly that in my Xcode days, every time I launched it, it felt like I had to do an entirely new install of 4 or 5 gigs of files. Replit, no. You go to the website, you can code within a few seconds, and it's always up to date, which is amazing. It's also going to save you a bunch of time because you're not going to be faffing about with any of the setup. You're going to click one button, go into it, and get it working. The time saved is immense. When you're working on a project together, you don't need to worry about Git and making sure that you push out the files and you take down the files, and every interaction in Git is great and it's fantastic. But Replit allows you to do actual multiplayer at the same time coding on entire projects, and it's amazing for that. Finally, it could be a moneymaker, and certainly it's an easy way to create something, to publish it, and to get interest in it very, very quickly for very, very low return on investment. In fact, the vast majority of everything we offer is free, and we will charge for hacker plans, for a bit more resources, a bit more CPU, a bit more storage if you want. But the majority of our offering is free. Now, I've talked enough. Let's explore. Let's go take a look at the Replit interface and see what we're working with. Well, here I am on replit.com, and you'll see this is my homepage. We've got a beautiful banner at the moment promoting our current community event, Replit Creates, where people are being offered a prompt, a creative prompt every day, and being asked to submit something creative in code, which has been a lot of fun. In fact, some of these trending repls we look at in the bottom here were based around that, and they're a bit of fun. But the most common thing that probably anyone's going to want to do is just get started programming. And that's really what we're going to start with today. To do that, you simply click Create. Now, this is our creation modal, which is basically the bit where we create. The only thing you really need to do is pick the programming language of choice. Now, Replit, we advertise supporting 51 plus languages, but the reality is this: any major language is there, and not just any major language, but pretty much every language and subset of language you could think of exists, and there's a template for it, and we can go and we can go and we can keep going because there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. I'm going to jump back to the top though, because I'll build you a sample program tonight in Python, which is one of our most popular languages, both on Replit and internationally. I could give it a title if I wanted to remember what it is, but we do a really good job of creating these random, unique names, and I love them. They always give me a bit of a laugh when I see them. We've got Sandy Brown Klutzy Software Suite here, which is quite nice as a name, so I'm going to keep that, and I'm going to create it. Now, by default, anything I create on Replit is public, which means that other people can go in and see my code if they know my username, or they're following me, which is pretty cool. That means you can share what you're doing really, really quickly. Let's have a look around this interface though. So what do we got? Well, on the left-hand side is our files pane at the moment. That's where we're going to put any files that we want to work on. The one we're currently working on is this file, main.py. I know that because it's highlighted in blue, but also this window here, our code editing window. I'll just zoom in a little bit so we can see a bit more. This here, our code editing window, is where we're going to do our actual typing. If I want the code to run, I'll click the run button and it'll run the code, executing it over here on the right-hand side, running the code, and we'll see the output in the console. Now, that's the very, very simplistic way of thinking about it. I can literally drag and drop files into my files pane to put things there if I'd like to. Just as an example, I'll drop a graphic that I'm using at the moment, and it uploaded it straight away. So I can add extra files to this if I want to. More than that, I can delete them, rename them, whatever I need to do as well. I get rid of that one so I don't have it messing around. Let's see what this is down the bottom here, because you've got this little drawer which tells you the resources that this REPL's using. Now, at the moment, it's not doing much because there's no code in it. And you can see how much CPU and RAM and storage it's using. Now, as you build more complex REPLs, you might be using a lot more of that. And that's worth keeping an eye on, because the resources available to you for free are finite, and you might want to upgrade those if you are really pushing it. Let's build our first program, though. We'll start with the classic hello world. If you're following along, in Python, we use print and we use brackets. Anything in the brackets can be printed. And in quotes, I'm going to say hello Replit. A nice, simple, basic program to start with. Nothing that's going to blow your socks off. And if I click run, you'll see how quick that was. Instantly, the interpreter has put it in the console. How about interactivity then? Well, maybe we want to ask for somebody's name. We could do that by storing it in a variable and using input. What I do like about Replit is the fact that the coding interface is saving as I go. I'm not in danger of losing any work here. I'm never in danger of losing anything. I often think of it as Google Docs for code. It saves it in the cloud, and it gives me a bunch of the similar collaborative features that we'll look at in a little bit. If I want to print that out, I can print again. If I print my name without any quotes around it, it'll print the contents of that box for me. But I'm going to say hello back. So I'm going to do a bit of concatenation, which is a fancy word for gluing together a bit of text and a variable with a comma between. So not crazy code here. If I click run there, it's going to ask me for my name. I'm going to go over here. I'll put my name in. I can't even spell my own name. That's a bit of a concern, isn't it? And there we go. It outputs it nicely. Now, again, you might be thinking, well, that's great. That's fantastic. There's a little bit of stuff going on there. What's it going to do when it gets really, really complicated? Well, the answer is it works this well all the time. We support graphical user interfaces. You know, we support things like Tkinter and Swing and all those GUI type setups that you get in a programming language. And they will just pop up a little window here. So you can see the graphical user interface and interact with it. It is really, really powerful as a way of taking programming out of your desktop computer and into the cloud, where it's going to be the same for everyone and you have that same good experience. Now, one of the nice things about this is that straight away, that is accessible to anybody else. If I get my URL bar up, and if I just take that URL and I'll paste that in the chat for you guys. If you go to that URL, you'll end up looking at my cover page for this REPL. Now, the cover page is interesting. If I start a new incognito window, I can show you what that looks like. Remember, this is straight away. I've done nothing fancy to share this here. So what's happening is it's loading it up here, and we'll be able to see it, and we'll be able to run it from within here. So it's showing me the code, it's showing me the files, and I can just click run, and I can see that code run, and I can even interact with it as we did before, straight in the browser. If you've ever tried programming before and you wanted to share your work with somebody else, you'll know how difficult that is. Sharing it is a massive faff. You can send somebody a .py file all you want, but do they have a Python interpreter installed? Do they have the right version installed? Do they have the security settings to allow their downloaded file to run? There's a bunch of questions there. With Replit, those questions disappear because all I need to do is give a URL to somebody and they can not only see my code, but they can execute it as well, which is amazing. So these are all the basic features of Replit. If I want to go and rename my file, I can up here. I can give it a little name. Now, because I'm paying for the hacker plan, I have the ability to make my REPLs private so nobody else can see them. That is a premium feature, so that's not for everybody. I can also fork my code, which means making a copy of it so I can carry on working with it if it's particularly good. And that leads us nicely to the next thing that we're going to do, because Replit's not all about writing your own code. It's also about discovering other code in the community. I'm going to quickly jump back to our homepage, and the community features are all there. Trending REPLs is on the front page. These are other pieces of code, other programs that other developers have written and shared and published on Replit for us to look at. There's some great stuff here. In particular, I want to show you this one. Replit creates full. So I'm going to open this up full screen because it's a really nice bit of kit, and you can see there that what it's doing is this is a piece of code written for our Replit creates prompt, which is trying to identify how what emotion I'm giving. Now, because I've got my screen set up to not have my face in it, doesn't seem to be recognizing me, which is a bit of a problem. So I'll very quickly find a different one to have a look at. Because what it should have been doing is picking up my facial features and my expression and telling me what I did with it. Let's have a look at a different one, maybe just a quick game. We'll try and save the blob. So I can click play and play the game if I want to. So how do I add to the blob? I have no idea. Maybe read the instructions. Click the screen. There we go. So if I like this game and I think, oh, that's quite good, I could actually go in and explore the code to it, just like I just showed you in the previous one. But more fun is the ability to fork a REPL. Now, forking means that we take a copy of it ourselves. If I do this, what it's going to do is take a copy of that complete game into my Replit account. Now, this code I can go and change myself. And this is very exciting because Ironclad Dev here spent a lot of time building a fun game, and I can go through it and I can make a difference to it. Something as simple as, let's have a look, the background color. If I change it to 128, what's that going to do to the actual game? Not a massive amount by the look of it, but if I go through this code and I find the variable that's responsible for how much the blob shrinks, I can probably hack this game quite easily to give me a fantastic score. Well, here we are. Here's a bit where you got a score of. Let's start that score off at a higher rate. Let's have a look. If I find score, here we go. Let's start score the high number. So, although my highest has been 19 so far, let's see if I can win on this leaderboard. Oh dear, this is such a hard game now. Oh, I did quite well. I did quite well. But imagine that with any program in the world. I can fork what somebody else has done. I can change it. I can learn a lot from it. I can even keep it in my own collection and customize it or just leave it and play it. It's one of the most powerful things about Replit is that idea of community, where I can see what other people have been building. And if I like it, I can fork it. I can take a copy for myself and I can make changes and improve it or just make it a little bit different. There's also a good bunch of games on there to have a good look at, especially recently we had a Kajam, which is one of our game jams. And we had some brilliant games developed as a result of that. We also have a bunch of categories down here, of which community is one of them. But we'll start by having a look through the folders. My REPLs is where your REPLs live. It's also where your profile lives. Now, this is my profile. We can follow people if we want to, or see who's following us. And that's quite nice. I tend to follow the people whose code I think is really interesting or exciting. Now, I'm a teacher, so my interests are different to yours. I follow the people that do good educational content. I'm sure if you're really into games development, you might follow a few of our devs that are producing really, really interesting games and see the snippets of code and the small things they're building as they do it. It's a really good way of keeping on top of the output people are making and the interesting things. Now, my REPLs there, I've got a bunch of folders that are already here and all my files. And I can just go in and click on them and get into them and access them if I want to, which is brilliant and a nice, easy way of having everything in one place. If you're in the land of, I can't find anything because I've got too much, our search is pretty good. For instance, if I look for blob now, I didn't need to click that then because it's it loaded before I clicked it. There we go. We can see there's my save the blob file I just brought in. So I could pull that up and access it from the search. The search is really, really good and really, really effective. So the community tab then is a great place to go to see what people are publishing and to engage with them and discuss what's happening. There's a lot of good stuff in there. And if you wanted to, for instance, go into this game, you'll see at the bottom, we've got our comments that people are doing and having conversations around individual programming parts, which is brilliant. We've also got a place for us to go. ask.replit.com is a place for you to go and ask questions if you need to. It's a great place to get started with if you've got coding questions, because there's so many different places that you can go and ask for help or advice. And you can see a bunch of it here with where people are asking questions and getting them answered by people in the community. So it's a great place to go if you're a new learner and you want to ask questions about programming. Okay, time's ticking away. So I want to show you another cool thing about Replit. So I'm going to show you create something that a lot of people do like to create, which is a website. You know, a lot of us like to have a link tree now for when we're posting to social media sites, and just a one link to send people to, so you can put all your other socials and all your other links in there. Now, a lot of us pay for those. You don't need to, because with a work of 20 minutes, you can make a REPL that hosts that for free and is active on the web already. I'm just going to run this REPL to show you that by default, I've made a website that says hello world. All right, well, it's not the most interesting thing at the minute. So let's tidy that up a little bit. I'm going to write in a bit of HTML here. So I'm making a heading. And you'll see it as I type, I click refresh, things happen. I'm now going to start making a list of my links. And linking them up. I put the full website address in here. So let's get the address of my YouTube page. There we go. If I pop that in there and refresh, we've got the first of our links. Now, don't get me wrong, this page isn't very exciting at the moment. There's a lot of work we can do, and we can even import templates and things like that that are existing on the web already straight away. But what's magical about this is that immediately this is online. I click this button here. This page is already available at the internet. I'll send you a link. I'll pop it in the comments for you. You can go to that site now, and all my changes update straight away. This is free, remember, completely free. So we've got a question in the comments that I missed. So let me pull that up. What's the difference between the hacker plan and the free plan with the cycles? Okay, so the hacker plan is a $7 a month payment. And with that, you get a bunch of stuff, such as the ability to have private and public REPLs. You have the ability to keep a REPL always on. Now, what REPLs do fall asleep eventually if they're left undisturbed. But as soon as somebody tries to access them, they wake themselves up. It just makes sure it's always on rather than having to wake up all the time. And you've got the boost ability to increase the speed and the resources you've got available to you past the normal increase you get from that anyway. Buying the same things with cycles, which is our on-platform currency, which is very, very new, by the way. So that's just starting, just kicking off, is more of a la carte way of getting the same thing. So if you don't need the entirety of the hacker plan, but really you do need a couple of boosts, or you do need it one always on, you can just buy the individual bits for a smaller cost. And that's the point of the cycles at the moment. Now, of course, we will be scaling that up, and you will be able to purchase much more stuff, including hacker plans, with that eventually. But it also, a really nice thing, which I do use, is that because I'm a big nerd and have a million REPLs that I like to keep always on, I reach the limit eventually. With cycles, I could buy more and turn more on, so I wasn't limited by anything really. So it just frees it up when you need those extra resources and that extra oomph that you might want in your REPLs. Right, back to this. The website we're developing is already on the internet and is already accessible by the people. I could put another one in. So there's my YouTube. Let me pop my Twitter link in. So I imagine that's twitter.com/Replit. Who knows? But straight away, the moment I finish typing that, I can click refresh over here and it's updated. And on the website, on the wider internet as well, it's there. Now, this is a brilliant way to build yourself a portfolio site or the site that advertises your business or whatever you needed, because it is straight away loaded and up. If you've got your own domain name, because we do give you a domain, but it is, as you can see, not the most memorable thing because there's multiple parts to it. You can very simply connect the domain that you've purchased elsewhere to it. So your www.mybusiness.com or whatever you built can be connected to that REPL. And again, for a very, very low cost, free on our side, you can connect this up and have a professional looking website hosted by us, developed by you, essentially for free, which is pretty cool, I think. You might think, though, developing a website is a big job for just one person, and it probably is. So this is where the invite link comes in. The invite link in the top corner allows us to add other people to it. Now, I'm just going to invite myself. Here we go. So I'm going to invite myself on a different account so I can show you how that works. Now, I could generate a link. So I could just send a link out and loads of people could join me on here. But I'm just going to demonstrate how that's going to work by loading up my Replit account in another window and showing you how multiplayer would work in this instance. So multiplayer does work like Google Docs for code. In that, we can have more than one person typing on it at the same time. And I think you can see there, as I'm clicking in my other window, you can see the cursor of my other player walking around. And if I decided to add a little comment to it, this is me typing on a completely different window now. More than two people. Loads of people could collaborate on a website if they wanted to. And depending upon where you are in the world, that's a brilliant advantage. I use this a lot with my students in my classes to make big website projects, to make big scale things. If you are a programmer and you've always wanted to collaborate on something, but always found it quite difficult, this is the way. Because with one link, you can invite other people and you can work on it all together. And of course, we're not just working on one text file here, we're working on the entire workspace. If I went over here and created a new file, you can see that page is opened up here. And if I'm working on it, I can even have a look at what my other guy is doing by clicking on him there. And I can see what he's doing. I can see what he's typing on. But you can imagine how powerful this is when we are trying to collaborate on a big project, or we're trying to run a small business and we don't work in the same place, or we're running it from home. It's an amazing feeling to be freed from the constraints of working on a local computer and working in this beautiful multiplayer way. Now, we do have a bunch of other stuff down here, which I'll very quickly introduce to you before showing you one last bit. We do have settings. So if you do like to do spaces instead of tabs, or you do like code suggestions and things like that, you can turn all that on. We do have package managers. So in Python particularly, you can go and add packages like NumPy and things like that that you might want to include. We do have a great integration with Git as well, with GitHub. So you can push and pull from repos. You can immediately bring in the contents of a repo and host it directly on Replit. The integration there is absolutely beautiful. And we do have unit testing for some of our languages as well, if that's important to you. That's where you can automatically test how your code is working. One thing you might want to do as well, I'm going to go back to my REPLs and find that Python REPL I was working on. Now, because it had a random name, it's going to be in my unnamed folder. And there it looks like it's there. Now, if I think this code is pretty good and I want to publish it to the community in the same way those other REPLs were, it's very easy. Got a big publish button on the top there, and I can give it a name, give it a description. I can then, I'm going to just put a lot of rubbish in here. I can give it some tags to help other people find it. It's quite an app. I can pick an icon for it, create a cover page, pick a photo for it, and even do a few other bits and click publish. Now, I'm not going to do that because I don't think anybody really wants to see my REPL published, which just says hello to you. Saying that, maybe they do. Maybe my REPL will be trending tomorrow if I did it. But, that's for our community to decide. Publishing things gives you the opportunity to share your work with other people in a more formal way, gives you a cover page that you can customize and link directly to, and really means that what you do and what you share has a bigger impact on the wider community. You'll see in our Replit REPL, sorry, we'll see in our Python REPL here, we've got a few other things as well. We've got secrets, so we can keep passwords and access tokens to other websites there. We've got a debugger, so we can step through the code and we can see how it works. We've got a database built in, so we can store things for offline access. And we do even have unit testing, as I said, so we can test what the program's doing and whether it's outputting things correctly. The last thing I'd like to show you is that when I click that, we do have a little link at the bottom to Discord. And our Discord community is absolutely vibrant. It is fantastic. And I would really encourage you to get on it if you are into Discord and you do use it a lot. It is a great place to go and hang out and talk about Replit and talk about programming and get answers to your questions, as well as our community features. We've got a bunch of places where we want our community to hang out and interact and talk and really get to share their passion for Replit. Look, this is the whistle stop tour. There's so much to Replit. There's so much depth to it. We have a learning experience where you can learn to code and remix other projects and go into tutorials. We have a Teams product, which some of you may have used in schools or in businesses, where you can get groups of people to collaborate together and store and manage things together. We even have templates. Templates are basically what we got in that first drop-down menu. So if we don't support a language or a setup that you like, you can go and make your own, because there are hundreds and hundreds already here. And if we haven't got exactly what you need, you can make your own. We even have our own games development language, Kaboom, which is well worth having a look at. It's very, very easy and quick to go from idea to game, and is a brilliant resource that I think people forget that we have. It is absolutely fantastic. Whatever you want to do with Replit, I think you'll have a good time. And if I have convinced you today that you really want to get involved and you really want to do something with it, please let us know what that is. Get on the community, tell us about what you did in your first few weeks, show us links to cool code, show us what you're building. We really would love to see it, and we would really love to hear of your experiences as you get onto this fantastic coding platform. At Replit, we're interested in bringing the next billion software developers online. I'm hoping that you guys will be some of that billion. Thank you very much for being part of Replit 101. And now the dramatic change to Homework Helpline happens. I see you're excited by this. You ready? You won't believe the difference when we get there. Drum roll, please. Boom. Change the logo on the screen. Okay, we are waiting for any homework questions at the moment. I haven't seen any yet. So it doesn't have to be literal homework, of course. It can be. I've been stuck with this bit of code for a while. I've got this project. Can you help me with it? Because we haven't had any questions just yet, I'm going to put the holding screen up and a bit of background music. If you do want to ask a question, please pop it in the chat and I'll jump back on and we'll try and answer it. But for all of you that tuned into Replit 101 today, thank you very much. And we hope you have a great time. we have a question at last. Brilliant. Let me pop that up here. So, music off as well. Lo-fi beats in the background might make us a bit tired. How can I upload files from my PC in a folder? Well, I believe this is currently only supported through Chrome, but I will very quickly jump into a REPL and show that in place. So let's make a new one. And it doesn't matter what language you pick here, it'll work the same for all of them. So let's pick arbitrarily. Let's go for it. Let's just pick Python, is it? You can tell that I mainly do coding in Python from the fact that it all comes here. I'm going to pop the question off for a second and find a file, a folder that I can upload that is stuff that it shouldn't be a problem. Let's have a look what I got here. Oh, here you go. I've got a folder full of fonts. So all I'm going to do is drag my folder from my computer all the way over to this files panel here. I'm going to let go of it. Now, notice that's picked that up and uploaded that straight away. So it should be uploading the files inside of it as well. And there we go. I've got my fonts uploaded in one go. It is as simple as that. Now, if you're trying to do that and it's not supporting it, it could be because you're not in the right browser. Chrome, I believe, is supported. I'm not 100% sure about other browsers. Let me pull up Safari and see if we get the same result. And of course, the reason for this is it's a limitation of the browser technology. It's not a limitation of our coding ability. But if I go into my reps now, so if I make a REPL here, make a Python one. Here we go. And I'll try and do that exact same job in Safari. Of course, this could be the same on yours if you've got whatever the current Microsoft browser is. So I'm bringing that folder over here. I'm letting go of it. Oh, no, it worked lovely. There we go. So it seems to work fine. So it's dragging and dropping onto there. If you can't get that working for whatever reason, there is another way to upload a folder, which is clicking on the kebab menu up here, and we've got the option to upload a single file or to upload a folder. Hopefully that would be okay. There's a second question from you there as well. Sorry, is there a function to upload a file into a folder? When you upload a file or a folder, it appears in the folder that you most currently clicked on. So if I were to upload something now, it would end up in this TTF folder because it's the one I've got selected. But it's very easy to move things around. It's just drag and drop. If I want that font and I want it out there, I can just drag it and it takes a second and it repositions it. So it's really, really powerful. It's a drag and drop file tree there, and very, very easy to upload folders, upload multiple files. Just do be aware if you're uploading a folder full of hundreds of megabytes of large files, it's going to take a time. But even then, you get a nice little pie-shaped progress indicator that shows you how to progress with it. Brilliant. Thank you very much. Anybody else with questions, please do pop them in the chat. And we will get back to a fantastic bit of lo-fi beats while we wait for some more questions to come in.